Council and school board, I'd like to call this meeting to order and thank everyone for coming over. It's always, as I always say, it's always good for the school board and the city council to get together and have these joint meetings. The purpose of this one is to just have a presentation on our deferred compensation proposed new plan. And Patty Phillips, you're up there ready to go. Please, thank you. We're glad you're here to make the presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council, Chairwoman, and members of the school board. I'm Patty Phillips, the Finance Director for the city and also Chair of the Deferred Compensation Board. And I'm here today to talk about the Commonwealth of Virginia Deferred Compensation Plan and how it may benefit the city and school employees. At your table is a couple pieces of information you might find helpful. It's an updated PowerPoint. Also, there is the performance of the Commonwealth of Virginia funds through October that I thought you might enjoy seeing, might be interested in. There's also a comparison chart that I'm going to use a little later that shows the current city funds versus the current Commonwealth of Virginia funds, just so you can kind of see the comparisons and what the differences are. I wanted to, before we get started, want to recognize several people. Kelly Hires is the DC Plans Administrator for VRS. There on the far end. Peter Thompson is the DC Plans Administration and Services Supervisor for VRS. Linda Matkins, who is a director of the Consolidated Benefits Office, and David Hartzog, who is the payroll administrator for the city.
Well, we thank all of y'all for being here. Thank you.
And they've been, I wanted to recognize Donna Mickley, Dawn Flora, Regina Hilliard is here, who's also a member of the Deferred Compensation Board. Farrell Hansacker is a member. Of course, you know he's been called away on a family death, so he was not able to be here. And I also want to recognize Dana Harmeyer, who has been very valuable in terms of keeping us on track.
We're glad to have everyone here.
With that, I'm going to get started and talk about deferred compensation. And you know, it's a three-legged stool. You've got your pension plan, your defined benefit, you've got Social Security, and you have what you can put away on your own, especially through a deferred compensation program, which is, of course, tax advantaged. The hybrid retirement plan was created in 2014 by the General Assembly, and that sort of spurred us looking further at the Commonwealth of Virginia Deferred Comp Plan. On top of that, the current Virginia Beach 457 contract with Empower Retirement is expiring, and that will be this June. So I want to also stress that today we're talking about the City of Virginia Beach plans 457 and the Sheriff's 401 plan. We are not talking about any changes to the school's 403B program. So just wanted to clarify that because it can be very confusing. There's so many plans out there. The current VB 457 plan was established by City Council in 1981. And it's eligible at this point for all non-hybrid city and school employees, and of course all part-time employees. It is governed by a 10-person board who also retains a financial advisor, Siegel Marco Advisors, and we also have an outside auditor. And we fund it with revenue sharing, which is basically implicit fees. So the participant doesn't really know the fees they're paying often and how that works, and as well as some explicit fees. This chart is just designed to show what we're talking about, what we're not talking about. That in yellow, we're talking about the Sheriff's 401A plan. The council created probably in the 90s, and then the City 457 plan, which is available to non-hybrid school and city employees. We're not talking about anything else today. So we felt like this is the time to consider other options. Over the last 3 years since the creation of the hybrid, we've been kind of doing a little due diligence, looking at the state's plan. but more intensely over the last 7 or 8 months. We had a consultant review the state's plan and the cash match plan. They looked at the market and they looked at what might happen to the city's plan because of the hybrid employees. And so they concluded that the state's plan would be very good for the city. I also want to point out, because there is some confusion here, that the Virginia Code Section 51.1-603.1 does authorize a locality to enter into an agreement with VRS to allow employees to use the state's deferred comp plan. And I also want to point out, as of January 1st, 2014, City Council made authorization for city hybrid employees to use the state's plan. Over time, as the number of hybrid employees increase and there's fewer non-hybrid employees, there will be a smaller plan to bear those fees, and likely fees will increase for those remaining in that plan. So it's another good reason to kind of look at other options. What did we find out about the Commonwealth of Virginia 457 plan? We found out that it's professionally managed, that it is based on best practices. I've attended several of their meetings, very impressed with the professionalism that is given to the management of this plan. They use collective investment trusts, which are basically pooled investment vehicles maintained by a bank or a trust company. And generally speaking, your fees are going to be lower with that. They use white labeling instead of a named fund. And that's sort of the psychology of investing. A lot of people will understand the name, say, Vanguard, but don't necessarily realize that it may be a highly aggressive large cap fund, because there's a lot of funds within the Vanguard family. This might be a good time to kind of point out this chart I was talking about earlier. If you could pull that up and look at it, it should be at your place. It's just a one-seat comparison of Virginia Beach lineup with the Commonwealth of Virginia 457. On the left-hand side is the state's funds, and on the right-hand side are the current city funds. And let's look at the stock fund. You'll see that sort of not quite halfway down on the left. That is the white labeling. VRS calls it a stock fund in this case. And if you look at what Virginia Beach has, we have 6 large cap funds, 2 of them on our watch list that we need to replace. That illustrates the amount of work it takes to manage a plan like this. A third one, Delaware Value, has recently been in the news as of yesterday, where a fund manager was terminated among allegations of the fund not following its process that it tells its investors. So that's a major concern for us. So we would want to replace that fund. I'm only illustrating the stock fund is got automatic diversification. The employee does not have to pick which of these large cap funds it wants to invest in. And by the way, not only are 2 large cap funds on watch list, but we have a small mid cap on watch, and we have an international fund on watch at the city's level. So it's not a concern, but it's just a fund we're watching to see if it's going to be performing as well as its peers. That's basically what it means. So with that said, VRS uses explicit fees instead of implicit, so employees know exactly what they're paying. The fund selection and record keeper are separately managed. VRS regularly reviews record keepers and uses a competitive procurement process to get those services. Right now, their record keeper is ICMA RC. They also have a separate investment process and have an investment manager that's totally separate from the record keeper. Significant cost savings will be beneficial to our employees. As you'll see in a few minutes, I'll go into more detail. The fund fees are generally much lower due to the size of the state of Virginia plan and use of passively managed funds. COV's got about $3 billion under management compared to the $280 million the city has. And there will also be a dedicated representative. I want to point, we talked about explicit fees. The explicit fee for record keeping is $30.50 a year. It would be charged out, I think, $2.54 a month. There would be no implicit fee or no revenue sharing where higher cost funds would subsidize those holding lower cost funds. In addition, the VRS would charge the city an administrative fee based on their actual costs, and we're estimating that's $50,000. Savings on existing staff time to manage the VRS. You heard a little bit about constantly looking at the funds and whether any of them have to be replaced, so we do that regularly. Our deferred comp meetings usually are 2 to 3 hours at a time, so just trying to illustrate the amount of work we're doing at part-time where VRS does it full-time. There's a tiered investment menu, and we'll talk about that. We think it's easier for participants. All the profiles of the funds are on the website. Also, the state of Virginia has additional asset classes that the city does not have: a high-yield bond fund, inflation-protected bond fund, real estate, brokerage window, and the VRS investment portfolio. And of course, they have the Roth. And the My VRS member portal gives the participant a more holistic view. You can see your pension, and you can see your deferred comp as well at one spot, and it can help you plan for the future. Why do fees matter? This is an example taken from Mercer. 2 investors, each contributing $6,000 a year, beginning at age 25, a 6% return. One pays a fee of 0.5%, the other one 1.5%. When it's time to retire, they'll have $201,873 more in their account. So fees do matter. In addition, the city's participants, there are about 1,300 who pay a managed fee on top of the fund fee to have Empower, through their reality investing, manage their investments. And that's 45 basis points on top of the fund fees. And over a long time, that makes a big difference. They could simply go into a target date fund where it is already diversified for 8 basis points plus their annual record-keeping fee. And there is an on-site rec that can help with that, help you make that decision. And I'm using an example of someone who has a $100,000 portfolio, and what they would pay if they were a managed account. They would be paying over $1,000 a year. And under the target date at the Commonwealth, they would be paying $110.50 a year. So that's an annual savings of $939 a year. And over 30 years, that adds up to real money. We talked earlier about the investment paths. There's 3 of them. Do it for me, help me do it myself. Employees and participants can mix and match however they choose to do, but it helps them think about their objectives, their risk tolerance, and their own investing style. The do-it-for-me path is primarily target date funds. You see that there's 8 basis point fund fees, and generally you pick based on your retirement date, but you don't have to. You can pick whatever retirement date. You'll see a 5-year increments. I'm going to jump now to what is a target date portfolio. Basically, you see an arrow there. At the beginning, in the early years when you first purchase it, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on equity and equity-like investments and less on fixed income. As the glide path goes to your target date, the emphasis will reverse and will be more emphasis on fixed income and less on equity and equity-like. So it's automatically rebalanced. The employee doesn't have to do anything. And it's really a great way to save for retirement. It offers the ease and convenience of a professionally managed, diversified portfolio in one easy step. Switch now to Help Me Do It path. This is a carefully selected menu of funds for those who prefer to take a slightly more active role in investing by assembling their own portfolio of funds. Here you see an array money market, stable value, bond funds, inflation-protected bond funds, high-yield bond funds, stock funds, small mid-cap stock funds, international stock funds, global real estate, and of course the Virginia Retirement System investment portfolio. And you'll see the expense ratios vary based on the type of fund it is, the stock fund being a 2 basis point fund fee, and the Virginia Retirement System investment portfolio is a 0.58% or 58 basis points fund fee. And the last one is the do-it-myself path for those who really are knowledgeable and want to manage everything themselves. There's a self-directed brokerage account. You may have to pay an additional fee to set up that account, but you can enter it. Thousands of publicly traded mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, and individual securities will be available. And we looked, and for those who really want to stay with their same investments they have today with the city, all those funds are available through that window at the same expense ratios. I know that the Deferred Compensation Board for the city had long discussed a brokerage account, and we had always shied away from it, but the VRS managed COV 457 does have it. Education, that offers robust education, online tools, meetings, seminars, one-on-one counseling, phone and email support, publications. All the specifics about the investments are available online. And 12 days ago, they went live with a mobile app for people who want to make all their changes that way. And of course, there will be an on-site rep. I'm talking a little bit about VRS, my VRS member portal, only because they're so closely linked, but there's a new goal-based retirement planner that I'll show you in a second, benefit estimator, where you're going to be at your current investment rate, self-service purchase for those who would qualify, and of course a lot of security enhancements in this day and age is very important, and financial wellness platform. This is a little bit about the various web pages, and I'm not going to spend a great deal of time here, but in this example, if you go to your 457 account, and you'll find out that I've got $90,000. Some of it is in a cash match, and some of it is in the regular deferred comp. And here it says, well, if you increase just $100 a month, you will have $36,000 more when you retire. So it's giving you some prompts. Under the My VRS portal, you can see on the green is the defined benefit with an estimated retirement date, in this case of 2027, what your monthly benefit is estimated to be, and your defined contribution, what you have in there. This particular person has only got a few dollars, $77, so it's got a note up there. You could contribute up to 4% and receive a cash match for some of this, so encouraging the employee to do that. This chart talks about, this particular employee says, between your defined benefit, your defined contribution, and your Social Security, compared to your goal, that what you said your goal is, you're going to be short. So you need to do something different. You need to invest differently, put more money in, and that is probably one of the bigger benefits to the employees, to have everything in one spot to better prepare them for retirement. Now, where are we going from here? There was a member update that will go out from the city, and a school email from Media Communications will go out this afternoon talking about this briefing. Tomorrow there will be an email with a link to the various websites where we're going to post this material, including the video of today's brief. The BEAM, the school's benefits e-bulletins, will provide ongoing information. Department director meeting for the city, January 4th. City school employee briefings, January 6th, which is a Saturday. We're going to be providing information for those who'd like to attend. And on the 9th, we will have 2 meetings, one in the morning and one in the evening. We are trying to get a WebEx set up so those who don't want to go out can find out and ask questions. And we've got a little technical stuff we're going on right now, but we will announce that as soon as we can. The Member Advisory Committee for the city will be briefed on the 17th of January. The City Department Leadership on January 24th. City Member Conversations the 30th. And on new member orientations, we'll provide information. And once the city and school board approve this direction, then the ICMA-RC will come in and assist with the transition. Moving forward, as I noted, the Deferred Comp Board did vote to move the city's 457 to the Commonwealth of Virginia last September. We're doing our briefings today. In February, we would ask City Council to consider approving the adoption agreement for the 457 as well as a sheriff cash match program. And we would ask the school board to authorize the VRS adoption agreement in February 13th. After that point, the ICMA outreach and city school information sessions would start more regularly. The transition would take about 4 months. The goal is to have it complete by June 30th, but our target date is mid-June at this point. So that is, concludes. I know the room is very warm. I'd be happy to entertain questions.
Thank you very much, Patty. We appreciate your presentation. Are there any questions or comments? We thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Council?